Hey there, and welcome back to the podcast. On today's episode, I am welcoming a friend who I have learned so much from simply by watching him do his thing. He's an entrepreneur, a husband, a father, a corporate quitter as well, walking away from a job that he loved. But he's going to talk to us today about his lessons learned, about fear of failing, but most importantly, how to keep going. And the reason I want to talk with him is because I've just learned so much from him, and that, we don't have to have this all figured out. But if you have an idea or a dream, go for it. It's not going to be pretty, but you have to be open to failing at something in order to get better. Now, if I think about my situation in 2021 when I decided to quit my corporate job, and people will ask me sometimes, so what do you do? And I'm like, I don't know. I really don't have this one big thing I'm doing, but that didn't stop me from starting this podcast and talking about a topic I absolutely love. It can be so scary to take that first step. So listen to this conversation I have with Mr. Jonathan Scott, and I'm sure you'll find some inspiration to take your next step, whether that be in life or in the workplace. I'm super excited to have a very close friend with me on the podcast today to talk about leadership again, but not just leadership in a corporate sense, but how to really lead yourself through change and making those big changes and things you have to risk in order to do that. And I thought, what better person than to bring on Jonathan Scott, who goes by Johnny, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Yeah, I'm really excited, and I think you've just set such a great example for me and so many of the changes that you've been able to go through that you initiated. So maybe talk about who you are, where you're from, just so the audience can get to know you a little bit.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm Jonathan Scott, aka Johnny, and I'm an online marketer. I've been doing online marketing for about 8 years, full-time now. Left the corporate world, took the leap of faith, and been doing it ever since. So yeah, I live in Columbus, Ohio, here with Monica. And
not with me.
Not with Monica. Correct. Right. We're both in the same city,
yes.
Just friends. Yeah. So it's been an awesome journey.
Yeah. And I think what's great about your journey is, there's so much talk of the big resignation that so many people have been through when the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
But you did this long before it was even a thing. You did this 8 years ago, and I'll be the first to say, I thought it was amazing yet crazy that you just quit your corporate job. You didn't hear about those things as much way back then. So maybe take us through why you did it, how you prepared for that, maybe even some obstacles you had to overcome. And then I'll kind of share with you my insights on what I've learned from you as you've led yourself through all of this. Okay. So what was the initial I need to get out of here?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it wasn't technically the corporate job that actually did it. I had a fantastic job that I actually left, which makes the story even more crazy, but it was probably one of the best jobs I've actually ever had. I just have an entrepreneurial spirit within
Have you
me.
Always had that?
Always.
Okay.
It's always been in me. It's in my family. It's in my dad, my mom. It wasn't the job. It was just the itch to want to do something greater. Yeah. And I know I can't really get to the next level in a corporate job or corporate world. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to kind of step outside of that to kind of see what levels I can reach.
Okay.
Really the biggest obstacle was convincing my wife.
Oh yeah. You're not in this alone.
Yeah, at all. Yeah. So this is a partnership, and so she had to take the leap of faith with me.
Mm-hmm. How difficult was that?
Convincing
her.
Yeah,
it
was.
This is okay, and we're gonna be okay.
Because we were having a child at the time.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So
I think I forgot about that. That was all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was right after Layla was born. So It was just I don't know. I don't know if it was just I wanted to try to pursue something greater for her, mm-hmm. Because we were having, a life change. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to maybe step out to see what I can produce and see how it goes. I just felt like if I didn't do it, I would always have that what if.
Yeah. How did she eventually get on board with this and say, okay, what did you have to sell to her to say, okay, go ahead and do it?
Yeah, I think it was more or less showing their, the financial stability, talk about my plan and what I've done. This actually wasn't my first attempt at entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Jennifer and I have done businesses together. They've always been side gigs. They've always been, small weekend projects, or, sometimes we used to throw parties.
Okay.
So it would be things like that. So I think it was a little bit of, she's had a little bit of taste of, what I can do and what we can do together. So I think it was more or less just the financial part of it.
Yeah.
What's your plan? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
How are you going to make money? What are we doing going into this? What's your backup plan? Do we have X amount of months of financial stability?
Yeah.
With that going in. So I think it was just really more her belief in me and what we've done in the past and just the opportunities that were out there for us.
It just seems like you had a lot to carry as well as you went through this change.
Right. Yeah. It could be a heavy weight on your shoulders, but I think if you just have that belief in yourself that you're going to make it happen no matter what. Yeah. If I had to go back to a corporate job, I have to go back to a corporate job. I went into this knowing failure didn't mean I was a failure. Yeah. I'm not scared of failing. I understand that you have to go through those trials and tribulations before you get to the other side. So I think it was the lack of fear of failing. And I think that's probably what a lot of people bump up
and
against.
You have to be willing to fail, to say, this isn't going to work. And my son and I were just talking about this as far as having a growth mindset, and that mistakes are needed in order to grow.
Absolutely.
You can't just take this leap and think it's all going to work out beautifully and perfectly. And maybe it does for some people, but that's not realistic. Right. And I think some people just have that fear that I can't do it because I might not succeed. That scared me. Yeah. Like when I quit my job, and you, before the whole Great Resignation, like you were such an inspiration to me. Like, well, Johnny did it, and I remember when you quit, and it was, I fully thought it was like amazing, but also like, man, how's he gonna do that? Right. Like it's so risky. But I was finishing my college education. I was going to do more, but then I, got cancer and all that stuff. But I went for my associate's degree. Watching you made me realize, and I'm not downplaying an education, a higher education, but in the day we live in, like the days we live in today, you can learn so much on your own and be successful. And there was a moment in my life where I was like, now I get what Johnny was doing. Like, it really hit me. Like, I understand a bigger picture now of why he left and how he was able to be successful. And so kudos to you, because I was singing your praises. I don't think I even did it in front of you, but I was like, I get it now, what he's doing. I want to talk about the evolution of where you're at today, because I remember I had talked to you a few months back, and I was like, I don't even know what to put on my LinkedIn profile. Like, I don't know who I am, what I'm doing. And you're like, it's going to continue to change. And I didn't realize that, like, oh, that's true. Like, as we go through this and trying to make sense of our lives and what we want to do, it's okay to change. So talk about what you started doing. You've explored a lot of different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so talk about that and how it's gotten you to where you're at today.
Yeah, when I first left, it was more about, I started off with specifically doing SEO for digital marketing.
And
that was
search
like my
engine optimization.
Yeah,
okay.
That was my one-trick pony that I was hanging my hat on, and that's what I was going to go out and do. Through the whole process of talking out to business owners, that was a piece that really should have come later. So they really need ads. They really needed something different to generate business for themselves. So I had to pivot a little bit as far as what my offering is. Luckily, that was running ads and creating marketing campaigns was something that I actually taught myself as well. So I could easily pivot to that. So that was probably the first pivot from thinking I was going to do this, but the market was saying, no, we really need this. So being able to talk to people and understand and being able to pivot is something that I had to do pretty early in the game. It was something that I kind of recognized pretty quickly.
And maybe another word for that is being flexible. Yeah. Like, you have to be you can't just think this, you're dead set on this. Right. It's going to change. Right. And you need to be open to that idea.
Yeah. Yeah. It was for me and, my type of business, it was the market telling me, you need to do this. This is what we want. this is what we'll pay for. So either you offer it or, you're going to have to find something else to do. So I think I've run into that quite a few times in just different areas of being able to pivot. There was a lot of lessons learned throughout, this 8-year journey that, I had to kind of step back and say, that's not working. We need to shut that off. We need to go over here and do the things that are working.
I think that would even stop people from moving forward, because that would feel like a failure versus being flexible.
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, we've tried this. Okay, it might be working, but let's try this now. And I even think back to some of your early projects that you took on that were successful, and where is it supplements that you were selling? Are you still doing that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
that was one of the things that I had to pivot. And so basically there are 2 different businesses that I was trying to run, and I highly don't encourage anyone to run multiple businesses when you're kind of just getting started.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things that I had to learn, because I know marketing. And so I felt like I can apply marketing to these different businesses and they'll be successful. Completely wrong idea. So the J530 was one of the things that I had to say, look, you got to pick a lane. Do you want the supplement business, or do you want to stick with digital marketing?
Yeah.
Digital marketing was my passion.
Okay.
That's always been my passion.
We're not talking supplements as in an MLM. Like these
Correct.
are right. Yeah, I want to make sure that's clear.
These were our own manufactured supplements from. This was our own formula. This was a from scratch business that we wanted to run. So just 2 different lanes, and it was one of those things where I just had to say that is more of a distraction than my core business. So I wanted to follow my passion. And continue with that.
How did you learn these marketing skills?
Self-taught.
Okay.
Yeah. YouTube, courses, networking events. Like you said, there's so much information out there.
Yeah.
We
can learn anything. We can fix a fridge.
I do a lot of home projects, all YouTube.
Okay.
That's, Jennifer, my wife, used to joke, is like, I didn't know you could do all this stuff.
Like I did it.
You're right. Like at the old house, I really wouldn't fix anything or create anything or build anything. But since then, YouTube has been such a great tool that we have access to. We have access to so much information now. It's unbelievable. It's a great time to really get out there and do things.
Do anything.
Do
anything. And I think that's where I continue to be inspired by you, because I feel like the opportunity is out there for people to learn more, to do more, to explore. To take the risk. Is there another example you can give of something you've learned through this process that may help others go in that direction if they're kind of questioning?
Yeah, I think it's really that acceptance of you're going to fail. Like you have to be able to be okay with that. If you fail at something, doesn't mean that you're an actual failure. You just found out one way that you shouldn't be doing that. Try a different angle. Try a different way. Typically when I talk to people, it's that fear of failure or fear of instability if it's an income thing. But you just have to believe in yourself and understand that you can have the capability of learning how to succeed. As long as you're a teachable person, as long as you don't want to, aren't afraid to fail, you can't be stopped. You can go out and do anything you want.
That's such a great point. I just think we are our worst enemy.
1000%. 1000%. It is so internal. It's so much internal that really holds us back.
So what's next for you?
I think we're transitioning more into a software development company as well. We're kind of merging software with actual services. I think it's going to help us expand our customer base and kind of widen our audience a little bit. We don't necessarily have to bring on people that want to work with an agency. If people want to do in-house, we'll have software and tools and access to everything that they would need to run it in-house for themselves. So I think that evolution is what we're working on right now.
That's amazing. And I think, my takeaway from you and talking to you is to be okay with failure. I think not just in an entrepreneurial way, but I think even in a like if people are working in a corporate job or sometimes we hold ourselves back from applying for a leadership position or applying for something new, a new field within a corporate job. We have that voice in our head that doubts. We doubt ourselves, but really it's like, how are you ever going to know unless you're willing to take that leap and give it a try? Would you have ever imagined, or maybe you did, like your success and how you've been able to support your family. But you've bought a house since you quit your job, like a brand new house, and built it and all of that. Did you imagine that would be this amazing for you?
I imagine hopeful. I was very hopeful.
Okay.
This is probably, one of the, dreams of being able to reach different levels as you go through your transition, because it's all a journey. It's just a matter of what's the next thing for you. And it's really about stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Everything you've ever wanted in life is on the other side of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to get out of that, you can really do anything, whether it's, in an entrepreneur way in the business, or if it's in the corporate world. I know a lot of people that are successful in the corporate world. There are different avenues for people to excel and succeed and just reach another level. But they have to be willing to get outside of their comfort zone. Yeah.
2 more questions. First question is, do you have it all figured out?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You think you do, you always get a curveball.
Yeah.
And that's where the being flexible, willing to pivot, it comes in handy, because you never have it figured out.
And I think that's my point, is no one, it may look like you have it all figured out. We may think people in life have it all figured out. Nobody has it figured out. You don't have to. You just, like you mentioned, be flexible and keep moving.
Right.
So the last question that I want to close out all of my podcasts and videos with is asking a question of seeing where you're at today in life and the things that you've had to overcome. What advice would you give your younger self?
That's a great question. I would say the biggest piece of advice is to follow your dreams. Start early, fail fast.
Yeah.
And whatever your dreams are, go 10 times bigger. Because wherever you think you want to be, you'll reach it so fast that you're like, I got to have a bigger goal.
Yeah.
And it's really just about, just do it. Just go out there and do it. Understand you're going to fail, but just be okay with that, because it's just a learning process.
Yeah.
That's all we're all on. That's all life is, a learning process.
Yeah.
So
I was watching this, just a side note, I was watching this movie, and I had seen it before, like in Apollo 13, but they say that failure is not an option. I feel like it is. Like we have to have that in order, right? And their situation was different, dealing with lives in space and things. But it's like we have to know that it's going to be okay if you do. One of the things I love telling people is that it's from Marie Forleo. Everything is figure-outable. So even taking that leap, if something doesn't work, you can figure it out. It's going to be okay. But I think just you are such a great example of how to lead your life out of the corporate world, how to lead your life through change, and how to continue to do that as you evolve your business. Yeah. So thank you so much for being a guest on today's podcast. And how can people find out more about you?
They can go to scottmarketingservices.com. That's my main website.
Okay.
And that talks about our services there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Johnny. Good talking with you.
You too.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.